Welcome to the Jayantha Premachandra YouTube channel. My name is Kumar de Silva, one of his students of many, many years ago. A bad student at that, actually. Mr. Premachandra was born in January 1935 and he graduated from the Colombo School of Fine Arts in Colombo and later got his degree in art from Russia. He's exhibited around the world in Western Europe, in Eastern Europe, in Russia, in London, and has a large collection of creations, of pieces to his credit. My earliest recollections of him go back to the early 70s to Wesley College in Colombo, where I studied, and he was on the staff with my father at Wesley College, and he was our art teacher. I remember him as being a very quiet person. He walked very slowly, he moved very slowly, he spoke very slowly, and he wore these thick spectacles. And through that, you could see his eyes. His eyes were deeply profound pools of light. His eyes spoke a lot. Even in the canteen, he ate very slowly. He actually moved like a snail, and that was his pace. In the classroom again, he was one of the quieter teachers, hardly raised his voice, but his expression was his art and his canvases and his paper. So many years later, I happened to meet his daughter, Nilanka Premachandra, who is joining us today on this first ever video on the YouTube channel. Nilanka, what would your earliest recollections be of your father? You were born in the 1970s, long after I knew him. What was he like at home? I saw him in school, but then you saw him at home.
As you mentioned, he was a very calm person and very inspirational also. I learned a lot from him, of course.
What did you learn from him?
To be calm.
Okay.
First, I learned a lot about the values of life, how to be honest, how to be yourself, how to be humble, things like that.
So going back to the middle 70s when you were born, what were his major sources of inspiration as a painter? Nature, people, wildlife?
I think he was inspired by a lot of things.
Like what, for example? What do you remember from your childhood?
He traveled a lot. So I guess he collected a lot of memories about countries
around the world. It was not only a Sri Lanka inspiration, he had an international exposure.
Yes.
And you
from
traveled
my
a lot
point
with
of
him.
view,
Yes,
because
okay.
I traveled with him.
Right. Where did you all go on these journeys?
We went mainly to Europe, but he's been traveling a lot all around the world. As far as I remember, I traveled a lot with him to Europe for exhibitions.
So what were those experiences like? His exhibitions, the opening day?
But he did everything by himself, from hanging to fixing the lamp. I remember that he was making a sort of a pahana, where you put all these grains around.
Yes.
And that I remember very well. Wherever we went, he used to make that.
That was his trademark.
Yes. So, in every country we couldn't find a pahana. You see, not all countries had it, but when there were exhibitions organized by the embassies, so at that time he used to do that. And
as far back as you can remember, how did he handle praise? See, 32 one-man exhibitions around the world. He's got a lot of national and foreign awards and prizes. A lot of stuff, actually. So you said he was humble. How did he react to all this? The praise?
I don't think it affected him in any way. He must have been proud inside himself. But I never saw him showing it in in another way than that. He was a very simple person, so I don't recollect any.
I have one question. Why always the Scandinavian countries? Why always Denmark and Sweden and Norway? Any particular reason?
I think he was welcomed in these countries. Okay. And I traveled to Scandinavia from the time I was about 5 years old with my parents. So my mother went with me as well. I actually have a very, very nice opinion about the Norwegians, the Danes and the Swedish. They were very welcoming, very kind-hearted, and that's how I remember, you see. So I guess he must have been also like to go to these countries because he was feeling comfortable and nice.
There is another facet of Mr. Premachandra which I think I did not know. You call him as being a freedom fighter and a lover of peace.
Yes, I felt that since I was small. He was always talking about freedom and equality, all sorts of things regarding life, values.
So in his paintings, what was he trying to express? Did he express all these emotions?
Yes.
In his work? One of which you see actually on the wall here, and there are two on the two sides as well. He was doing that.
Yes.
And then came your journey to France. Why did he choose Paris and France of all places? He's a huge Russian influence, a huge Norwegian, Swedish and a Danish experience. But then he chose to go with his wife and daughter and settle down in France. Any reason? Do you know why?
I think France is reputed for art, and he felt that his art was accepted there. I guess more than the Scandinavia, he found France welcoming and more artistic.
So he did not speak French at that time?
Not when he arrived,
Yes,
but he was learning French.
Okay, so when you all first went to Paris in 1984?
Yes. 84.
84. It was tough because at that time, you had to speak French on the street to be understood.
Exactly.
Quite unlike today. So how did you manage? How did he manage in his work as an artist? You said that he was also where there's a will, there's a way, and he was also very persevering.
He was very persevering. He tried his best to do everything right. So to learn the language, he made a lot of efforts.
But you must have learned the language faster than he did.
Yes, because obviously I was schooling.
Yes.
I was schooling, so I was kind of sort of an interpreter or the translator for some place, for when he went to some places.
So have you accompanied him to all these famous museums in France, in Paris, the Louvre, for example?
Yes, of course. Yes.
And what fascinated him? Which wings did he spend more time? The Louvre has lots of wings.
I think every part of it he loved. He and I loved everything which were in the Louvre. I can't say one thing. Okay. You see.
Now his work, his creations that happened in France. What of France was reflected in his work? He was there for 4 years before he died. Mm-hmm. So he painted. Any French inspiration that came about?
Yeah, a lot of, I have a lot of paintings that he had painted about Paris and the places, a lot of places in Paris, you see. Montmartre or Champs-Élysées, you see.
So talking of Paris, did you ever try to go and paint in the Place du Théâtre in Montmartre?
Oui, bien sûr. Yes.
I'm speaking in English in this interview, it's okay. Right. So, and then he was, so he had this little studio, right? In Ville de Clichy.
Yes. So he was, as I said, he was very persevering. So he was recognized as a professional artist in Paris. And he was given a special visa permit, and he had a studio in a cultural center where he
found
his last paintings were done there.
Okay.
He participated in a lot of cultural activities in that place itself, which I remember now. You see, organizing cultural events, exhibitions of other artists, which was very interesting for me as well, because I was also learning a lot from these experiences. Yes.
My last question, your father's gone. What would be your best memory of him? You as a daughter, you as a woman, and you as a mother yourself, and you as a human being.
Yes, he taught me all the values about life and how to take life step by step, how to face difficulties, and how to look at life through art.
Looking at life through art, and that's exactly what you're doing now. His only child and daughter is keeping his memory alive. Jayantha Premachandra died at the very young age of 53 years in Paris, 4 years in France. But his memory certainly does live on. His daughter has collected all his work, his paintings, his writings, and she, with the foundation and the Facebook page, will keep his memory alive of this wonderful man. So from his daughter and his student, thank you very much for watching this inaugural video of the Jayantha Premachandra Facebook page on YouTube channel. More coming in the days and months and years to come. Thank you very much for watching.